Welcome everyone, and great to see you all here at our last day for Suptech Week. This week passed and went by really, really quickly. On Monday, we talked a lot about AI in different contexts. On Tuesday, it was all about data strategies, data schemas. Wednesday, we dove into different use cases around Suptech, consumer protection, cybersecurity, and many more. And yesterday, we heard about the state of Suptech in many different regional contexts. But what we'll do today is the day is fully dedicated to applied technologies. What we'll mean by that is we'll hear from vendor demos, we hear about outcomes from tech sprints and hackathons, and we hear about many different case studies from all around the world, prototyping efforts, and much more. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Storm Dunker, who's the Managing Director of Financial Transparency Solutions, who'll share with us a little bit more about what they're doing at the organization, and you'll be able to see a live demo. And you're able to ask questions throughout the entire session in the chat or in the Q&A tab. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to you, Storm, and thanks so much for joining us.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. Very big thank you to Cambridge Suptech Lab for making this all happen. It has been a very busy week and kind of multifaceted in locations and online, and I appreciate anybody's attendance that has made it until Friday. Can you see my screen well?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, and you can hear me fine?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. My name is Storm Dunker. I'm the Director of Financial Transparency Solutions, and we have for 5 years had a product called Strix AML. It is a specifically Suptech solution for supervisors making AML CFT risk assessments. And we make that's kind of our wheelhouse product and activity. However, it does quite a bit more than just an AML CFT risk assessment. So I will jump into our product now. So we have an owl as a logo, a Strix flying above, can see down on the ground and have a good view of everything below, all of the risk. Strix itself, the product line, it's a modern software tool that automates the risk assessments for AML CFT supervision. It's been developed for supervisors, by supervisors. We've had any number of peer reviews with other supervisors having similar technologies because we do want to act in the greater benefit for supervisors and collecting lessons learned and providing them to all users. So Strix is an end-to-end management of data. So we have the capability of mass data collection. From within our product, you can build a survey and distribute it to 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 entities and receive that data back. And all of that data comes validated according to rules that are set during model building. And it's aggregated into one data source. And it's mapped directly to the risk and controls models that exist inside of the product. Strix started as a modeling framework. So it's not that we perform the risk assessment. The main product is not that we perform risk assessments in our way. We adapt the existing methodology by a supervisor and accommodate it into a host, a modeling host. And we have a risk assessment model and 2 controls models, one for quantitative data analysis and one for qualitative data, such as on-site feedbacks from inspections that are done on-site. And then we have a complementary package that is a BI tool. It makes dashboards relevant for supervisors doing data analysis on summary level, on data level, or on comparison level. And the main outcome of using this tool is a high degree of automation. It results in a recurring savings, both in time, but also in money. and there is a productivity multiplier. So for small authorities or small supervisors, teams of supervisors, it's like adding 4 or 5 people to your team. Just 1 or 2 persons can perform 10 or 20 sector institutional risk assessments, which is a surprising feat for just 1 or 2 persons. So we've designed Strix to be drop-in. It is standalone, but it's entirely integratable. It's API friendly, so we have API for ingesting company register metadata, so entities and their points of contact for receiving the surveys. We have APIs for ingesting second source data that can be prudential, it could be web scraping, it could be any kind of second source data and uploaded into Strix at whatever frequency is desired. We have an API for exporting everything that's been collected, whether it was through surveys or a compilation of second source data that can be aggregated, exported into one database, and it also includes the scoring and the ranking and some aggregated statistics on that data. That makes it compatible with a wide range of third-party software and existing databases, and an integration possibility that we want to steer towards is an offline GPT for querying of the private database. And that becomes really interesting because you can say, of all of the entities that said, yes, do you do this activity, can I have a subset of that who had more than 50,000 transactions that involved jurisdiction ABC? And to ask that out of natural language and get a result would be very interesting for us. So that's actually an area that we want to move into. And then the last slide I have is just to identify the scalability as a focus. So we want that Strix is strictly reusable. It's a commercially off-the-shelf product. We have 14 supervisors using Strix, and that means there's a distributed cost of development. It means there's a distributed cost of maintenance. If we have, at any given time, we typically do have one of our users asking for enhanced functionality. Well, with every update every year, those other 13 users are going to receive the benefit of this brand new functionality that they didn't pay for. And everybody has that benefit, so that makes it a very high value solution for a lot of our supervisors. It's scalable in the sense that we can rapidly deploy it. The out-of-the-box functionality can go live with surveys in 30 days. Strix can be used to supervise just one sector, such as banking, or it could be all sectors under the sun, FATF, so FIs, DNFBPs, maybe 40, 50 sectors in total. Strix is being used in about 100 different risk models at all of these different clients, spanning FIs and DNFBPs already. Scalability, we promote the sharing and collaboration between supervisors. We've made Strix in such a way that if you have a risk assessment model or a risk assessment survey, you can, a few clicks of the mouse, export the model, not data, not confidential information, just the model and the questionnaire in however many languages you may have had it. And you can share it with another supervisor using Strix, import that exact model, and you can send that to all of your institutions on the very next day. So this enables a lot of sharing of model, of technical assistance that could be tens or hundreds of thousands of euros of value just because you're sharing with other supervisors doing the same thing. And then we very much want that there is a solution for all supervisors. So we have a scaled solution strategy, and that allows that we can have a dedicated instance with on-premise clients, or not clients, but supervisors. and they can have full control of their data, and two-factor authentication, etc. We have also shared instances where one jurisdiction has multiple authorities, and they can have one or more parallel running instances of the product, and they share on infrastructure costs in that way. And then we have a model for SaaS, software as a service, but sometimes I call it Strix as a service, where in cases where economy is of mind, we can receive a list of entities obfuscated, such as just their license codes, and upload that list into our product and send out all of the surveys, get all of the data back, run the risk assessment, print the dashboards, and provide a deliverable package that is as a service. Jumping into a live demo, we're going to look at the results. This is actually kind of the end of the process, a dashboard, a heat map showing inherent risk versus controls and giving you residual risk. We have our demo banks here. They've been risk rated. There's one that's high inherent risk and fair controls, and that one is at the top of the risk demographic pyramid. Some statistics, some geographic intelligence about your sector, and I'm just going to click through some of these, just knowing we don't have so much time, but you can make horizontal comparisons of your institutions. You can make horizontal comparisons of their controls environments, and they may be assessed for various categories of controls. These are the on-site feedbacks that come back as ratings, and you can compare the entities in that way. Every entity has their own dashboard, so we can see highlights of their information, the key risk drivers. These are the riskiest things that these entities are engaged in, their most geographically sensitive activities, and then outlier detection for controlling the quality of data that may have passed some of the data validation checks that were originally done. And then there would be a great way to view the data that's collected instantly. So as soon as it's submitted, you can press run calculation and see results or work in progress results. And you see the results that are answered by entities and how it was rated according to high risk or low risk. So that exists for all of the typical risk pillars that might exist. And it also exists for the control scores that may have been asked of supervisors. And then I'm mindful of time. I'm going to jump into data analytics. We can show summary statistics of a sector, min, median, max, number of entities responding, all very useful information on a summary level. Really, really cool is the ability to pick thresholds in Strix. So you can visualize the data collected for every question, and you can choose to pick a threshold style, one of some options, or you can have custom thresholds, but it lets you pick and see those thresholds, save them, and then apply them. And this is a massive savings of time. This would be actually in the coming year, where we are deploying an AI solution that is actually going to pick the thresholds as a suggestion. And in an ethical use of AI, the supervisors will be prompted to confirm those are ready by just toggling this button here, and you would see a state of all of the ready or not ready thresholds for all of the data points. So massive time savers there, and really nice is the comparison functionality. This is an aggregate of all of the data, so I can just pick a few entities, and you can expand, and you have here the sector totals that have been collected. You can actually do sectoral risk assessments with the same tool, and you can compare the details and even see the granular detail of countries that may have been on high risk or increased monitoring lists, and you can compare the detailed granular information of each of those entities. I realize I'm probably at time. I've got one more thing if I can squeeze in, and that would be, it's possible to have a comparison of an NRA. You can recycle the data. We have a recycle data feature. And here we can compare securities, banking, insurance, and real estate. It makes for a very interesting comparison between your sectors at a national level because you can actually measure effectiveness of, for instance, controls between these sectors. You can see that circulation of policies and procedures is really poor in the real estate sector. Do outreach that year and next year get a higher percentage. There's effectiveness in numbers. I'm at time, so I'll just return it back.
Thanks so much for sharing, Storm. We do have 2 questions in the Q&A tab, so I'd encourage you to jump in there right away in writing. We have one from Maria from South Africa asking whether the Strix can also be used for non-CFT AML purposes and how Strix is fed the data, if it comes from entity input or data directly gathered by the regulator. So please do chime in on the chat here. But for the sake of time, I'll pass it over to Carlos to hear from you from FNA and show us a live demo here as well. Over to you, Carlos, and thanks so much again, Storm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elia. Thank you, Storm, for the presentation. Now I'm going to show you a presentation, and perhaps I will have a couple of minutes to show you a demo. I don't know if you're seeing my slides. I don't see them.
Not yet, no. Please do share your screen again.
Oh, again, sorry, I didn't know that it had...
Yeah, it popped away.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think now you can see them.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So once again, let's start by thanking Cambridge Suptech for the invitation. I know it has been a very interesting week in New York and also from away because several presentations have been occurring virtually. Yesterday, we had a very lively, interesting session about supervision of payments, which was led by Anthony Gavin. So one of the main questions like a couple of questions had to do with how do we do money tracing? And first of all, FNA stands for Financial Network Analytics. We're a Suptech firm that specializes on supervision of the financial sector. So it has to do with the supervision of banking sector, insurance sector, and based on usual reporting of banks and other financial institutions. But especially we use payments data to do the supervision as well. And one of the questions that were formulated yesterday had to do with how do we use payments for recovering funds in fast payment systems. So we decided to have this presentation of how we tackle consumer scam and fraud with Graph AI. So that's what I'm going to tell you a little bit about very quickly. So first of all, I have to say that it's scams and fraud is really an epidemic. I mean, all countries that have deployed their fast payment systems have been suffering from a lot of scams and fraud in the last years, and this has become a very difficult problem to solve. One of the main problems is that fast payments right now all around the world is bringing new problems. Perhaps fast payments is something that is not new. Fast payments is something that we had many years ago when we transfer from Bank A to another person in Bank A. That's already a fast payment. But the problem is it has become very acute, very, very difficult to solve when interoperability entered the picture. So the problem is right now that we have instant payments, which are interoperable, because as soon as the funds get out from Bank A and go to Bank B, everyone is losing the visibility of those funds. So that makes the several things about detection and recoverability of funds. I mean, it makes it very difficult. The third point of why this is important now is that artificial intelligence and large language models are helping the bad guys in this aspect. So we have not only ChatGPT, but for people trying to do scams and fraud, there are specialized tools for that: Fraud GPT, Worm GPT, Evil GPT, which help them to do to build or to get the right wording for instance, for building SMS or for building websites for the people to be scammed easily. And obviously, this has a lot of impact in the confidence of the people on digital payments and obviously on the financial system. So that's a big problem right now. The problem with the current approaches is that bank or payment system providers operate in silos. The problem with the interoperability is that as long as the money leaves bank A and goes to bank B, no one is able to see that. So the interoperability is one of the main problems. If it's cross-border, obviously it's even worse. So the big problem is that most solutions are designed at the end to tackle fraud, which is what we call in the industry unauthorized payments. So it's someone trying to do a transaction with your bank account or your credit card, but without your authorization. And this has decreased a lot in the last years, just because there is two-factor authentication, there is biometrics. So it's fraud is something that most likely is going down, because the tools, the technological tools to try to tackle have become very effective. The great problem right now is that we're facing authorized push payments, which we call scams. So that's a way for someone to trick you or to trick the user to do some kind of transaction, or to allow the fraudster or the scammer to have control of their accounts willingly. So the problem is with social engineering that is being used to trick people into giving the information about their accounts or making payments. And that's more difficult because no technology, it's going to, as in the case of unauthorized payments, no technology is going to solve that. And obviously, in several countries, this has become a big problem with political and societal pressures to reduce these losses. In fact, in the UK, if the bank is not able to prove that they inform the user that it's most likely to be a scam or a fraud, the banks have to reimburse. And obviously, this is a big problem for financial institutions. I'm going to go a little bit faster, in that what we have at FNA is a solution that tackles two parts of the problem. Pre-settlement, so what we provide is something based on graph technology, in network analytics, which we mix with AI to provide scoring for transactions and accounts. So before a transaction occurs, FNA, or the platform deployed by FNA, is going to allow the users, the banks in this case of the platform, to send a message or to have a score to be able to send a message to the user, so they decide to make the transaction or not. So that's an important part of how to prevent this the frauds and scams from happening. But perhaps the one that I want to focus a little bit more, because the pre-settlement is something that it's rather common, normally with Know Your Clients and blacklisting. What we do is also the post-settlement. We know that no pre-settlement tool is perfect. We know that scams are going to still happen, and there should be a way for the users, and the banks as user or payment system providers, and the end users to recover the money. And at the end, the customer satisfaction about fraud and scams, the real consumer protection is not only to identify who are the scammers or who are using mule accounts, but also to be able to trace the funds and to do research, and eventually, finally, hopefully, to have the funds back. So that's one big part of our solution. So the pre-settlement, what we do is we take into account the entire network of payments to use graph or network analytics and AI to try to understand which transactions or which nodes in that network of payments most likely are mules or are fraudsters that are trying to trick someone into doing something that they don't want. So that's part of our solution. And this part of the solution is not to replace what commercial banks or payment systems already have, but to augment what they have, to enhance it. Because normally the existing solutions are based on biometric profiling or behavioral profiling, which has to do with how the people or the users behave, but in an individual manner. What we provide is a profiling based on networks. So that's enriches the pre-settlement solution that financial institutions already have. The second part is the post-settlement solutions. So it is about when someone is scammed, or when the platform or the commercial bank identifies that there has been a scam, there's going to be a report, there's going to be some step of validation and prioritization, and then there is going to be a tracing, tracking, and potentially a freezing of funds. So what I'm showing you here, I hope I will have time to show you in the demo, is a solution that allows the authorities and the banks and the payment system providers to track and trace where the funds are going. So if at some point of the research of the investigation of this transaction, they decide that it has been a scam, we can see, or the user can see, where the money has gone and to do something, because several central banks or financial authorities, what they're doing with this is freezing that amount of money that has left the account of the user, of the lawful user of its account, and freeze it in the other nodes that are in the network. Then this is going to reduce the time for investigation, and is going to allow the authorities to do something meaningful, which is recovering the money. So at the end, very quickly, what this is going to create a virtuous circle, because as we train the model with this transaction happening into the payment network, we can also feed the pre-settlement of the solution, because we're going to train and to update almost in real time the pre-settlement tools, like to prevent, based on what we see that it's happening in the network right now. So at the end, the benefits have to do with the consumers, which is recovering stolen funds. And that's perhaps one of the things that I would like to highlight, because several central banks or regulation or authorities are now pushing financial institutions to do something about the recoverability of the funds, or to be able to cover those funds. And obviously, that's costly for financial institutions. And obviously, this brings several other benefits for financial institutions, because it increases the efficiency, lowers the costs of them doing this, including reducing the cost of research or investigation, and also reducing the cost of refunding the money. For law enforcement, for central banks, and for financial market infrastructures, obviously this provides a better tool to do what they're supposed to do. So let me change, and I will show you very briefly. I think you're seeing my screen now. Yep, this is the same screen that I showed you during the slides. So what we have here is a dashboard in which we have someone, which is, let's assume it's someone that is going to be scammed. So we have information of all the network of the payments, so that we can see what this or any other agent is going to do in the payment network. One very important clarification is that we don't need to have the identity of the people. What we need, and the solution that we have provided for in several jurisdictions do not have they do not violate the anonymity of the people. Normally, what we will have is hashed information about those accounts. So what we have in this dashboard, and as soon as there is a sign that there is a scam, either because the user, the end user, sends a message or makes a call, or because the platform has detected that most likely it's a scam, what will happen is that someone in that financial institution will be able to access this network and to start seeing where the money is going. So at the end, what it's happened is that someone sent, for instance, $1,000 to this account, which has been used like a mule account. And then there is someone who is behind this account that is tricking this first sender, the original sender. It has tricked him to send this 1,000. And in a couple of seconds, normally, and that's what we have observed in real life, in a couple of seconds or minutes, because these are fast payments, and these are fast payments with interoperability, from the yellow one, which it corresponds to a specific bank, which here we call yellow bank, it's going to be smurfed or distributed very quickly into other banks, which normally they will pertain to the same network or the same scheme of scammers. So it will start like hovering around, and the researcher can start checking where the money is going, how is being smurfed and distributed, and have a complete picture to see where the money is going. And that's a very important part for the investigation and the recoverability. And one of the things that we have observed with real data is that after a couple of minutes, this network increases very quickly. I mean, grows very quickly. So the faster that the people make an announcement or make a report of a scam happening, or the faster that the solution is able to detect it, the better. So what we have achieved with this very quickly, because my time is running out, is we have decreased the time for the authorities to research and to find or to confirm that a scam or fraud occurred, and it has decreased the time for the authorities to be able to freeze the funds and to recover the funds. So in the jurisdictions that we're live right now, the amount of funds that have been recovered has increased manifestly, and obviously this helps a lot. From the pre-settlement side of things, having this type of network analytics to update almost in real time the pre-settlement solutions, I mean the detection solutions, this has helped a lot also to increase the efficiency and the accuracy of the models. So I'll stop here. So just to finish, this is one of our solutions at FNA. As I mentioned at the beginning, some other solutions have to do with supervision, normal, let's call it like a traditional supervision on banking reports or financial reports from financial institutions. So I will be very happy to take questions about this or some others afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Carlos, for the wonderful presentation. We do have some questions in the chat here for you on the primary sources for data identifying, on off-shelf apps, and one from Eric on whether this is recorded, and indeed it is recorded. So the second we end, you will be able to watch the replay, and it will also be on YouTube. And we do have a follow-up question for Storm from Maria in the Q&A tab on the Strix customization. So please do jump in there. We are at time already, so I just wanted to let you know that, of course, you can learn more about both solutions presented. Right now on screen, you will be able to see a link that directs you directly to the webpage from Financial Transparency Solutions, so you can dive into their different products there, learn more about Strix and the many aspects Storm presented. And you will be also able to see the webpage by FNA and lots of the information that Carlos presented by clicking the yellow link that appears on screen right now. So with that, I'll leave you to it. Even now, as I end this session, you will still be able to write in the chat, answer questions, and get in touch with the different individuals. So feel free to keep the questions coming, send direct messages to Carlos and Storm, or of course, contact them through the information on their web pages. So thanks so much to both of you for these really quick speed dating presentations here. And looking forward to seeing you at the rest of the sessions at Suptech Week today. The next session will be our solution presentations from the API Innovation Hackathon that has been going on for the past 2 weeks. So lots of cool, interesting, exciting ideas that we're presenting there as well. With that, have a great rest of the day and see you soon. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Elia. Thank you, Storm.